Hey guys, this is Omar from Brown Liquor and Cigars. How you guys doing? Today we have a special guest. Introduce yourself, man.
My name's Jason from Dayton, Ohio, formerly originally from Trotwood, Dayton suburb area, and been in Dallas for 10 years. What's up?
Nice.
Yep.
Who?
And over here, my buddy over here,
Yes.
Carlos. How you doing today, Carlos?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Good.
You good?
Good.
Nice.
And today we got an interesting topic. And,
Okay.
I'm just going to wing it. I was telling John that I have a pretty bad memory, so...
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah,
just
so
kind of go off the
Carlos,
dome.
I'm going to need your help here.
Okay.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about unrealistic expectations when it comes to gender roles, you could say, in relationships. So that's kind of the topic. So we'll start with you, Jason. What do you think? Whenever we look at traditional relationships, that we go into it with certain perspectives or ideas of what our role should be as a man and woman.
Our roles in regard to relationship-wise, man should have four things: protection, provision, problem solving, and procreation. In a story, that's it.
Okay. And what would you say as a man might be some unrealistic expectations that we place, not so much on us as men, but on women, or maybe something that you think should be the role of a woman, but maybe women are thinking different. Can you kind of speak to that?
I say that again. That kind of threw me off.
Yeah, so as a guy, right? When you think of gender roles, or if you're going into a relationship or you're talking to a woman, do you think that sometimes you have unrealistic expectations as to what a woman's role should be, either casual dating, long-term relationship, or marriage?
I got you. No, not anymore. I used to, but now for like the last couple of years, absolutely not. And the reason being is because the situation now, since it's been like 2021, 2022, is just completely different. And the reason why I look at it and say that it's different is because it's just a situation where, to make a long story short, you have a lot of podcasts, and there's people that are opening things up and talk about it. It's like there's things that are talked about, like, say for example, they're looking at men and women's agendas. And a lot of times the agendas are four, and they come off of those four, like I just told you about, the four P's. And within the four P's, I feel like, and I know, like, I'm not even going to date a woman if I can't even bring something like that to the table.
Right.
It's like I don't even think about it, and I don't even want to consider it.
Right.
And a lot of guys have unrealistic, I think women more so have unrealistic expectations than the men do, because the men just want simple things.
Right.
And men are a hell of a lot more easier and more compliant on some stuff. It's like a lot of times with the women, it comes from more pushback than anything, because they think that their value is actually better than what they are.
Right, and Carlos, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, I said it.
I
said
some
it.
of those unrealistic expectations are from a woman.
From a woman to a man.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes some women they want a man to provide, and I do agree with Jason on the providing part if it's going to be a marriage type of situation. But I think some of these women, they come into relationships and they're automatically having this expectation of, oh, what are you going to buy me? What are you going to do? And I've said it a million times on here. I'm the type of person, you get more when you don't ask for it, for me. So like if I meet a woman and that's her talk or that's her approach to me, like, what are you going to get me? What are you, like, we're not going to go far.
Yeah, so financially, that might be an unrealistic expectation. What about emotionally?
I think too, even with emotionally, I think now that with a lot of men being more in touch with their feelings and being open to talk about things emotionally, even though maybe there's some truth that some men are closed off emotionally, and then there's some women that are not, and they're more emotionally available. I don't think women or men should approach either sex as, oh, because you're a woman, you're going to be able to express your emotions, or, oh, because you're a man, you don't know how to express your emotions. Because I've been in several situations where, I mean, I may not be the best at expressing my emotions, but I've been in situations where the woman is kind of closed off to her emotions, like in a role that maybe you would expect more so from a guy.
Right.
So I think it's a case-by-case basis too, you know.
Yeah, and I think, Jason, one of the things that we talked in the past when we had a gathering was, we always talk about traditional roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's almost like I feel, in my opinion, that in today's dating scene or world, if you want to call it that, sometimes women want the benefit of a traditional man, but they don't want to put in the work as far as, like division of roles. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely can speak to it. Number one, I'll piggyback off of what you're saying. Within that, women want equity instead of equality. They want equity without going through the burden of performance. Meaning, like, men have to go through certain things. Like, for example, a lot of women think that, okay, since you're pretty privileged, that's going to get you to the top. And they still want the perks, but yet they don't want to go through the effort to actually get what they need to get. What I mean by that is, like, say, for example, if a woman go to the club or something, it's like, all right, if you're going to the club, then you get in line, but yet you get in free. Are you going to tell the other, or is she going to stop and be like, oh, no, I want that 300-pound girl to come in there with me, so I'm going to stop? No. She's going to take the perks. Why? Because that's just what it is. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, that's disingenuous. You want a man to do this and you want a man to do that. And it's like, I wish that a lot of women would just hold their ovaries and just be like, look, I'd rather just have a cosmic Santa Claus. I'd rather for you just do that.
Omar, say something.
Test.
Say something again.
Test. Hello?
Is it not?
He's not coming through good. Just switch it out, Omar.
Nope.
And you just gonna start right back where Jason just left off. Cosmic Santa Claus. You like that because I know he's asking you back. Jason, let me move you up just a tad.
Not a problem.
So you got to respond back to Jason, Omar.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point that you bring up too, and one of the things that I've also heard and listened to Jordan Peterson, for example, right? A lot of the times when we talk about men and women, it seems like we're so, with the goal of reaching equality, which I agree with. But a lot of the times, I think when it comes to men and women, we should be striving more for equality of opportunity. Right, as a man and as a woman, whether that's in the workplace and relationships, making sure that we're fair to each other and we both have those opportunities to be the best of each other without any restraints because you're a man or because of the woman. But I think you're seeing that in the workplace, and I think one of the things that also I want to point out is that if we want to say that, hey, this is going to be equal 50-50, then it should be 50-50 in all areas, right? Because I know when it comes to equality, you don't realistically you don't really see that because you don't see a lot of females filling in roles in industries like construction, for example. You mostly see them in more caring roles like nurses Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and Carlos, do you kind of agree with Jason as far as like the traditional roles that we tend to know of? Is that really something that is applicable today when it comes to dating or long-term relationships or men and women that are looking to marriage?
Yeah, I definitely think I agree with the point about the whole benefits part, because I do think that on both sides, again, women do want the benefits of the traditional aspect of those traditional duties. So like me, for instance, I'm not traditional in the sense of a woman doesn't have to be cooking for me every day. Like that's not, if we're in a relationship, that's not something that I require. As a matter of fact, if she's mad at me, I don't want her cooking because I'm not going to trust it. But so, I think that those kind of things, it just kind of depends, again, like I guess case by case type of role. Because I think too, for men, it's traditionally thought of that men want to be respected. I think kind of just against all odds, we just want to be respected. But it's like we may want the benefit of that, but are we exuding behavior that demands respect? You know what I mean? So it kind of just depends on, like, if you want the perk, then you also have to do the work that it takes to get that.
Right. Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point that as men, we're in our mind. I think we also have it that we have the burden of performance of being a man.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason, what would be a stereotypical trait when it comes to men that might be a deal breaker for women in today's dating market? Because I know in the past we talk about like the highly coveted high value man, right? So when it comes to women, what are some of the things that you've heard or that you've seen that are deal breakers from a woman's perspective when they're looking for a potential mate in a guy?
When a woman looking for a mate, don't say that you want a partner. That's the biggest turn off. Like, I know with me, for sure, I'm like, I don't want to walk in and go into a situation where I'm walking in and it's like, damn, like, am I sleeping with a man or something? It's like, no. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want anybody that's going to have that same kind of energy to where it's like, okay, you're competing with me.
Right.
If you want to be a man, if you want to be the man, then you need to walk. You need to bounce. And at the end of the day, and for men, they have to have an abundance mindset. So where the thing is with me, I know if, okay, I tell a woman like this, you give me 3 years, I can give you a husband, aka me. I have that. This is how we can go about this, and we can roll with this matter. If you want me to lead, well, when you want me to lead, let me lead, but don't give me constraints and say every time that I make a decision, you start pushing back, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, this is kind of choppy. No, you let it play out, and then what things are done, you look after my blind spots. That's all that I need you to do. I don't need your money. I don't need anything else. And then it's like, and I don't understand it, and it's frustrating with me when women get pissed off and talk about, well, cooking, you go back to the 50s. No, it's about being self-efficient. And that's what Cam Newton talked about, and he took a whole bunch of blowback for it. Now, the thing is that's complete bullshit. Because all he's saying is that don't be a bad bitch, don't be independent, don't do this. And at the end of the day, get that mindset out to where you're independent and you don't need no man. Don't sit there and say that you don't need a man to do this, do that. Oh, and you want a fucking cookie just for literally just being employed and having employment and working? Oh, slow clap to the green for you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, my God.
Right. And
you want a cookie for that? And then it's like you want, and it's like a woman wants so much more for doing so less. And that's what I mean by minimum standards. It's like he ain't saying that you have to cook he ain't saying that you got to cook him a beef Wellington. All the dude is just saying, get a damn meal. Just learn how to cook. Just have some in your repertoire instead of just like fashion-wise.
Yeah, and to go back to the question, do you think that's a deal breaker for women? Like, let's say they find a guy that they're into, and the guy's like, hey, I'm looking for a woman that can cook, that can clean. Are those things that you've heard or seen that nowadays women, those are deal breakers if they meet a guy like that? Is that what are some of the deal breakers from the women that you think that are deal breakers for them?
For me, I don't date women who have children, and I don't date women who don't have father figures in their life. when it comes to like either a daddy or a grandfather or someone that doesn't have a sexual agenda for them at a young age, who actually looks at them and has pure aspects that is a male leadership role. If she don't have that, she for the streets. I'm gone.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because somewhere down the line, you're going to bump your head. And they're going to bump because she's going to want to take your spot, either directly or indirectly. It ain't going to be today. It ain't going to be next week. It might not even be 5 years down the line, but I can guarantee you she's going to bump she's going to bump you on something.
Right.
And it's one thing to be like, hey, yeah, you don't have to do, well, it's like, nah, I ain't sure about this. No. You pretty much won his spot. And at the end of the day, and the reason being is because if she cherished mom like she got a God complex or something, absolutely not. Because the mom is going to have a third vote and everything.
Right, yeah.
And it's just too much. And dudes are leaving marriages and relationship because women have too much fucking power in the courtrooms.
Yeah.
When it comes to like marriages and family laws and stuff, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Give up the power. And I ain't saying that you got to have it to where it's like, it's such a landslide.
Right.
And it's like, you cut down some of the family laws and take some of those expectations, but you still want a man to do this, because I never understood the life of me. Like, you can have a baby by a man, not marry him, so you can trust that he shoot up the club, potentially give you AIDS, herpes, crabs, or something potential that you can die from, but you don't trust him making solid decisions on a relationship. But you bring a baby in this world to actually have a situation to where the baby or the child is already has won. The logic side of the logic side is gone.
Right. Yeah.
AKA because the man ain't there. Then you have another scenario where it's like you want to struggle and do this on your own. No, you chose to have that baby. He didn't choose it. He had just to deal with the consequences to make it fit in his life.
Yeah, and Carlos, to kind of piggyback off of what Jason is saying, with that perspective, what do you think are some of the deal breakers for women? Is it like the fact that men they meet traditional men that want the things that Jason just mentioned? Or what would you say are some of those things? Can you list some? Or do you think they even exist?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that women have some maybe deal breakers or things that they feel like men should have traditionally. I think it's, if they feel like they're not being protected or something like that, they feel like, that could be maybe a deal breaker. Or, if they feel like they have to cover a lot of the weight financially.
That's a big one. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
that's a
And
really big one.
And a lot of women won't admit it, because I know we've had a couple of people, whenever we gather, a couple of women say, no, that's not an issue. If a
Yeah,
man
but it
makes
is.
less money than me. No, honey, you say that it's not, but it is an issue.
Yeah.
It is an issue.
And to me, this is just me. I can't really deal with a woman who puts a lot of emphasis on money. And the reason why I say that is because tables turn, especially when you're in a long-term relationship. So yeah, you might make more, or I might make $10K more than you when we first hook up. And I get laid off, then hey, you might have to carry the weight for a little bit, financially at least. That doesn't mean that I'm less of a man or she's less of a woman, but it's just funny to me when I see especially like women that want that kind of man. It's like, oh, he's got to be making X amount or all this, and it's like, but one, they might not even be making that, and then if they are, they might not last always.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you also hear about in different podcasts, YouTube videos, and talk shows is that, women are quick to point out, like you said, they have to make six figures. He has to be at least 5'10" or 6 feet, or he has to have a six-pack. He has to have his own home and cars or whatnot.
Yeah.
But when it comes to keeping that same energy, sometimes there's a miscommunication because, one, like you said, Carlos, are you making that much? Are you progressing in your career? But Jason, that's one of the things that you mentioned earlier too, that as men, you don't put a lot of emphasis into she has 5 degrees and she makes X amount of money because like you said, our mentality is to provide. But I think a lot of the times, and I mentioned this before, women tend to turn into the men they want to marry. And there's a lot of men that because we peak as men and women in different ages, you know, you might get with somebody that's on the up and that might be that person or that guy might not be at your level, and that's okay as long as that man has a purpose and he has a direction and he's going a certain way. Then hey, you can make that determination. But nowadays, and I don't know if you've heard this, but you know, women, it's a saying by Rich Cooper, but it's like, hey, women don't care about your struggle as a man. They'll wait at the finish line, right? Once you're the high value successful man. Do you agree with that point of view?
I agree with that. Yes, I do. And the reason being is because women want the results. They don't give a damn about what it takes to you to get there. They just want to see it. It's like you're talking about Rich Cooper, C Boogie, BGS, Kevin. I call him St. Kev. It's like you have those guys that came in, and also you listen to Jordan Peterson. I also listen to Charisma on Command. Mm-hmm. I also listen to Mindful Insights. And Charisma on Command, that's coming off a book of the Charisma Myth. And the thing is, it's like what I mean by blind spots is like, okay, say for example, if a woman wants a husband or something, it's like, okay, you got to start with him and you got to cut your teeth with him and you got to figure out what he needs in regard to work on as a service. What I mean by that is, okay, if this guy is going to school or something, like if he's going to a business school or he's going to a college and he's in a STEM program, right? Okay, within that STEM program, you need to find out how you can make his life a lot easier. Because newsflash, within 5 years, he's going to make 6 figures. Only thing he has to do is just get smooth out, because you have a lot of guys who are called nerds, preps. I'm a prep. All day, every day, 24/7, 365, I'm a preppy dude. But also, I've been in situations previously that I had some things that I actually had to overcome in life. Like I played baseball and soccer. I didn't play football and basketball. So I had to learn certain things, how to work on stuff, to where it's like I constantly redefine, refine, retool, reprogram, restructure, reorganize, and I have no problem adjusting to the situation on the fly. And I understand that the game is the game when it comes to women. It's like they're looking for a man to protect them and looking for a man for provision and protection after a certain age, because if they didn't get it in their 20s, usually after a while, and if they have kids or something at an early age, you're basically interviewing to be a damn stepdaddy. Ooh. So the thing that I ask women is like, okay, how am I benefiting off you that I couldn't get from a younger woman that's not standard and baked in? They be like, oh, loyalty. No, I can get loyalty anywhere at a job because I'm getting a paycheck. Come on, let's do this again. Let's try this. What I basically need from you is like, okay, if I'm doing something, if I'm writing a business plan, I want to spring some things off of you and talk to you about, okay, how would you think about this? Improv. To think about like, okay, this is a different way of going about this. And again, it goes back to looking after my blind spots. If I'm a prep and if I'm going to school and if you don't think, and if you think like, okay, maybe I'm attractive or something and I look good, but you can polish me a little bit better by like getting different clothes and stuff, then show me and take me to different places where I need to go to get an idea. Because that's what a lot of dudes in the STEM program needs. When you have that, they just need to be smoothed out. Soft skills. Right,
yeah. And let me ask you a question here. Could you ever see yourself being with a woman, whether that's like casual, short-term, long-term, or potential marriage that doesn't quite fit all your ideals as far as the roles in a relationship when it comes to her being a woman?
Yeah, I ain't going to get everything. So it's like I expect and I understand that she's not going to do that. But the question I ask is like, okay, are you going to at least make an attempt and try and make an effort or something? If not, chuck the deuces.
Yeah. And
You
what
gotta
about
bounce out. You gotta
what
go.
about you, Carlos? Would you would you be open to dating someone that quite doesn't fit all your list right away?
Yeah.
You know, that's not traditional role.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has deal breakers or like non-negotiables. So I have some things on my list that probably, if she had, it's like, this is a no-go for me. But the things that most people oftentimes find as deal breakers, I may not find, and then vice versa. So, like, for instance, like Jason, I know you mentioned like the kids situation. So for me, I look at that a little bit differently because I feel like once you hit 35, you're gonna be really hard pressed to be out here single and find a woman that doesn't have kids. But I think there's a dynamic to that too because, you know, are the kids older? Are they younger? What's the situation with the baby's dad? Like all that kind of stuff I think has to go into play. But I wouldn't ever rule it out because my mom remarried when I was 2, and my stepdad and I don't even call him my stepdad. You know, I just call him my dad. So we have a really, really tight relationship. So I think, you know, how he may have felt back then. And so I could never, at this age, say, oh, well, I'd never date a woman who has kids because it's like, well, damn, you know, that could have changed the trajectory of my life if that didn't happen with my parents, you know?
So you would be open to that, like on that particular topic, like you would be open to dating potentially long-term relationship marriage with a woman that already has kids from a previous relationship or marriage?
Yeah, and I think especially I'd be more open to it too because I don't have kids. So, and at one point I did want to have kids, and I kind of sort of still do. I had at first 33 was my cutoff. It's like if I don't have them by the time I'm 33, that's it. And now I'm like, okay, then it was 35, and then it's like 37, and now I'm like, okay, well, shit, if it's not by 40, that's it. So after a while, I can't keep pushing it out and pushing it out. So, I mean, the realistic part of it is, you know, that may be my story.
Right.
You may end up with somebody who already has kids or a kid, and I ain't trying to get with no chick that you got like 5 kids. No.
Yeah, and that's a good point too because I think a lot of women are quick that, you know, for whatever reason, right? They get out of divorce with, let's say, 2 or 3 kids or 1 kid, and they think that the world, that the whole market of guys, they're quick to raise their hand to be a stepdad. That is not true.
Yeah.
Hey, for those guys that have done it, good on you. I have a lot of respect, but for me, and this might be hypocritical, but I have 3 kids, and you bet for a fact that I'm not getting with a woman that has kids. That's a deal breaker for me. Yeah.
What if they're grown?
No,
or near grown.
Yeah, no, that would be. I mean, if they're like plus 18, that would mean that she'd be older. And for me, like, you know, I right now where I'm at in the season, I wouldn't date an older woman. Right. So, and that was the whole perspective that after my divorce, people were telling me, hey, they were telling me, hey, well, you're going to have to settle for women that have kids because you have kids. How are you going to want to date somebody that doesn't have kids? And all I've dated after my ex-wife has been women with no kids.
But they're younger though, right?
They're younger. Yeah. So,
but okay. So you wouldn't even date a woman that has 1 kid?
I mean, short term.
He said none.
Right. I was
Zero.
trying to figure out if there's a number here.
There ain't no colored or gray areas. It's just black and white. None. 0. Zippity doo dah. Zippity day. 0. Zip. Zilch.
And Jason,
nothing.
to clarify, short term casual stuff, yes, but any type of relationship,
So sex, yes. But
yes,
no.
correct. Yeah.
He's basically saying, he's saying basically, let's just make a deal, and that's just what it comes down to. And that's what a lot of women are doing nowadays, man. So it's like you just roll with the punches. It's like, hey, man, you adapt to the environment. It's like, okay, when you hear and listen to a woman say like, well, I ain't going to date a man that don't make 150. I ain't going to date a man that actually looked the part. If he's 6'2", 6'3", it's like, that's what I mean by the cosmic Santa Claus. You want this, that. You want a dude that's like 6'3", that's like you want him to be a physical alpha. You want him to be the top 3 to 5% of men that is of salary. You want him to be hung like Lex Steele.
Don't forget the tattoos, Jason.
Oh, my bad. I totally forgot about it. I let the tattoos go. I apologize.
You gotta have a
But
sleeve.
it's like, and you want him to be Zoolander male model. It's like, no, you can't have it all the way. You
Yeah.
got to work something out and be like, okay, this can fit in my range. Okay, I ain't going to get the Zoolander, but it's like, at least, I can smooth them out a little bit. Banana Republic has deals. Okay, I understand that.
Oh, yeah. I love
It
banana.
is what it is. I like banana too. It's like, all right, it is what it is. So it's like you got to figure out what you can handle and what you can't handle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's where a deal comes in. But the problem is that it goes back to, again, in your early 20s when you had bad vagina management, when you didn't choose to get married, and when you choose to have a kid. And the thing is that you trusted him sexually, so he was your physical alpha, but yet you couldn't help him to make decisions on where to go to fucking dinner, or make decisions on like house things. Like, okay, hey, the electric needs to get paid first. Like before you do that, hey, let's look at something.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You brought up a good point, I think. So I think with the whole money situation, I always say this, like, it's not so much about how much money a person makes, but how they manage it. And I think that's where a woman can really be helpful, because maybe they are with a guy who makes $150,000 a year, but if he's not managing his money well, at the end of the day, he's broke. Right. And the woman may be able to say, okay, well, in a respectful way, like, hey, maybe you can do this, or, watch your money grow. But I think some women are so set on the salary that they don't take the time to investigate, okay, how does he really handle his money?
Right.
Because that can be bigger than, because he may have a salary, like let's say from 9 to 5, where he makes, I'm just throwing this out there, $75,000, but he may have multiple streams of income outside of that he's managing that maybe are equivalent even more than the guy that makes the $150K.
But that's what comes to me, what I was saying earlier, that a woman needs to take care of his blind spots by smoothing them out. If he has that, it's like, okay, if he's making that money, it's like, all right, he's an engineer or something, and he lives in, let's say, South Lake, or he lives somewhere like that, or Grapevine or something, and his apartment is like $2,000, but he's still living like a damn college student, like he's in a dorm or something. It's like, and he still has the same regular ass furniture that he had when he was in college. That's where she needs to come in to smooth him out. You see what I'm saying? To help him out, like, okay, hey, you know, you ain't really fashion privy. You don't have a sense of that. Let's work on that a little bit. Let's read some books together. It's like she needs to bring that along with him. Be like, this is a good look. This is like, hey, you know what? Are you more modern? Are you more of a contemporary man? Are you more of this? Are you more of that? Like, let's see your personality traits and what's going on. Let's try to figure this one out.
Yeah.
And work with that instead of like, oh, he don't have this. Nah, you already cut it out.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the important part too is that like it's okay to have requirements or to have certain things that you look for in a mate, right? When it comes to women or dating or whatnot. But let's not get so caught up, both genders, right, to miss the actual essence of that person, their heart. Because as long as they have an open mind and willing to learn and willing to compromise, right, when it comes to a relationship or a marriage, then I think it's workable, right?
Yeah.
And I understand, like, I know we hound a lot right now. It feels like for the women listening that we're kind of giving you a hard time, but also on the fellas, hey man, if you're on a journey where maybe you're struggling right now, don't expect to get like the top tier women or the women that the end result of what you want to be in when it comes to a marriage, because there is just like we pointed out, you know, the women that might not be ideal, there is a lot of you that are feminine, that like to cook, that are willing to learn how to cook and clean and collaborate or help, or like you said, financially help a man kind of get on his purpose or manage his money better. And not that, again, not to say that those are the most important things, but like you said, hey, back them up, support them. And then also, if you're a guy, making sure that you're protecting, that you're providing, and that you're also being like emotional and mental stability for that partner, right? So it's not just women, it's also men. Embrace the fact that, hey, like being in a relationship, it's not one of those things that, I got her to say yes, to commit to me in marriage, and then the work stops. No, I think, fellas, that's where you guys get in a lot of trouble, where you think just because he said yes and you're married, that the work stops there. No, it's like, going to the gym. If you're trying to build muscle, or you're trying to, increase your stamina when it comes to running, you constantly have to work at it, right? And it's both genders. So again, like the point here is that make sure that you don't miss the essence of, the relationship and getting to know that person, whether you're a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
what's beautiful about relationships, about dating, about marriage, because there is a lot of beautiful, tangible things when it comes to marriage and relationships. Do you kind of want to give us your final thought as to, some advice or your shot of truth to the audience that's listening today?
I mean, I go on both sides. I go for the men and I go for the women. In regard to the men, just always look at yourself and be like, okay, is this something that I'm doing? Can I always improve myself? And constantly read, constantly look what's going on out here in this world. Constantly look at yourself to smooth yourself out. To do that from as a professional, and just as someone that actually are in situations to where you're going to be around a lot of people. Also, find out what salary-wise actually that you can actually do to make more money or something. That you can actually find a way just to improve yourself. Women, on the other hand, stop being so unrealistic. And look at the scenario and look at the family laws. Reason why a lot of men are actually exiting out of church, and the issue isn't the fact that they don't want to be with a woman or not married. The thing is that when you're in situations where it's the woman that is, I say about 80 to 85% are the ones that's filing for the divorce, and it's also the one that they're pretty much getting everything out of the deal. Men are bowing out because it's not a good deal for them. Because it's like they're really only able to see their kids at least 20% of the time, aka every other weekend. Let's forget. After 10 years, you're getting a third of his pension, 401k. Let's not forget child support as well. So it's like you kind of want to loosen up a little bit and work with him instead of working against him. Like, take out the power. Take out the leverage, take out the tool, and also don't always be so damn combative when it comes to it, because attitude reflects leadership. And the thing is that a lot of men are they're bowing out of marriage because they don't want to deal with a woman who has a bad attitude and overly mothers. And I'm done on my end.
Yeah, thank you for that. What about you, Carlos? Give us a shot of truth or some advice for our lovely listeners.
I say a big thing, and this again, I think it's for men and women, to just, two things. Be what you want on your list. So one of the things I can't stand is for people, it's okay to have expectations, but the dangerous thing about expectations and having certain standards is you need to bring that to the table too. And that's, to me, that's man or woman, and not saying flipping gender roles and all that kind of stuff, but just the basic things that you want. You need to be able to bring that to the table. And then too, I would say just at some point in any relationship, maybe not in the beginning, but I think you have to put your ego aside to some degree, because I feel like women and men, probably I'd venture to say maybe more so women on this one. A lot of women, I think they love project men. They want men that they can fix up, and not so much to help him, but so that they can have the bragging rights of saying, oh, look what I did. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good advice. My shout out too would be, hey, if you're a guy, don't assume that women nowadays are going to accept you with your traditional gender role expectations. Make sure that you're upfront about these expectations. You know, during the courting phase, if you are going to commit to a long-term relationship, potentially leading to marriage, make sure you talk about this because, like Jason said, it's negotiation, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to be open and upfront and communicate your expectations and making sure that that person agrees with those expectations and vice versa, that they also whatever their expectations of you as a man, that you're cool with it. And if you're not, then hey, maybe you're not compatible. But again, make sure that you're upfront, that you're honest, and there can be some beauty in relationships and marriages. So that's my shout of truth. And with that being said, we're out. Peace.